Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we continue our journey through Annu Pandey's powerful second book, Keeping Faith Alive, as we dive into chapter 12, To Stay or to Leave. In this episode, we explore one of the most emotionally difficult questions individuals face in spiritually unhealthy environments, the decision of whether to remain connected or walk away. For many people, these communities represent more than beliefs. They represent family, identity, friendship, purpose, and belonging. We'll be unpacking the emotional tension between comfort and harm, why leaving can feel heartbreaking even when abuse is present, and how relationships with loved ones inside those communities complicate the process even further. We'll also discuss what healthy responses should look like when someone chooses to leave, and how manipulation, guilt, or fear are often used to prevent independence. This is a deeply honest conversation about attachment, grief, courage, and the journey towards freedom. Let's begin. Hi, Anu.
I'm great, Siddharth. How are you?
Awesome. It's nice to see you after a week, and I know that's my fault because I know we're so regular.
That's not a problem.
Awesome.
It's
All
great to
right, to
be
get
with
the
you.
ball rolling.
Hmm.
Yeah, to get the ball rolling, Anu, is when someone begins questioning a spiritual community, what psychological and emotional factors usually influence difficult decision to stay or leave?
Could you repeat that once again?
Oh, sure. When someone begins questioning a spiritual community, what psychological and emotional factors usually influence the difficult decision to stay or leave?
So there are different things that happen.
Hmm.
Um, a person would want to assess. Uh, uh, there are a lot of things that happen, like when you are a member of a spiritual community, um, whether it's a healthy one or a toxic one, you usually become attached to it. And if the community is unhealthy, if the community is toxic, we become attached in a toxic ways. There are a lot of trauma bonding. So when someone tries to leave a community, then there are a lot of things going on. You have a lot of fear, lot of confusion going on, and also uh, uh, you were a different person before getting attached to the community, but now when you got attached to the community, you leave all the beliefs that you carried, the identity that you had, all everything that you carried from before, you leave that, and now you are totally a different person. You have stopped trusting yourself because you were told that you cannot trust yourself and you have to be totally dependent on the authorities and leaders for making any decisions, for even deciding what to think, what to feel. So when someone tries to leave a community, it's like a tsunami of emotions, and there are a lot of psychological things also going on inside you. There is confusion, there is doubt, and there is um, so many questions going on inside you. So leaving a community is not an easy thing. You are afraid about a lot of things. Even um, the fear isn't just about. It's not about. It's mostly the existential fear that what am I going to be after I leave this community. So a lot of negative emotions are there. But if you have experienced abuse in the community as well, you would understand that it's also going to give me liberation, it's also going to give me freedom, and I might have a healthier future ahead. But then all the teachings, all the doctrines, they stop you from believing in the positive things that you could get in the future. So there is a lot of fear also, and confusion and doubt and shame. So as I said, there is a tsunami of emotions and thoughts and cognitive dissonance, existence of uh, um, two thoughts that are exactly opposite of each other, and so you're very afraid, and there is also a lot of loneliness associated when you're trying to leave a community.
Awesome. How can individuals realistically weigh the risks and rewards of leaving a spiritual environment that provides both comfort and harm at the same time?
When someone is trying to leave a community, a spiritual community, especially if the community has been toxic to you, It's and if uh, see, every spiritual community, it's most likely that it will have some positive things as well. And but there are some cultic communities where nothing is good for you, everything is negative. But if you are trying to leave a community that has done something good for you also, that has been comforting you also, so while making a decision to leave such community, the first thing that the person needs to do is have the dual reality awareness. Try to accept the fact that a person or a community or a leader, and especially the community we are talking right now, can have it can meet your core human needs. It can be comforting by providing you belonging, meaning, ritual. But at the same time, it can harm you also by having qualities like controlling, shaming, coercing. So holding both truths together is the first step, because if you are still in that, I see a lot of people who know that their community is harmful, but still they will stick to the black and white thinking that no, 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 just because it's my spiritual community, so everything is right about it. It's me, something is wrong me, that's why I'm seeing the faults. On the other hand, I also know some people who have been hurt, and because of that they are so angry at their community that they will see only the negative things. They are not ready to acknowledge anything that has nice happened to him. And I will not blame the second ones, I will also not blame the first ones, because this black and white thinking, everything is good or everything is bad, it usually comes from trauma. If someone has spent so much time and spent so much energy and they have invested their emotions, and now they're afraid of taking a side, because it feels overwhelming to them, so it would be very difficult for them to realize, to consider both truths, to hold both truths together. But it's very important. It allows you to move on in a healthy way, so that you do not have any resentments later on. So the first step would be to have the dual reality awareness. The second thing is cost benefit analysis, which is beyond emotion. Obviously, as I said, the first ones who would say no, just because it's my spiritual community, so everything is good about it. It's my fault. This is emotional reasoning. While making any decision, not this just this one, but while making any kind of decision, it's very important to think beyond emotions. What I'm feeling is, it's so okay, my emotions matter, but they should not be interfering with the decision that I'm making. So create a list. Whether you are taking any kind of decision, you should always create a list of costs and benefits. The benefits that you have received from your community, or you are still receiving, or you may continue to receive. It could be anything like community, belonging, friendships, structure, identity. Now create a list of the cost. What am I losing? What I have been losing, or what I might continue to lose in the future? Like autonomy. If it's a toxic spiritual community, autonomy. Then mental health decline. So, or any other emotional issues. Anything that you understand that I might lose or I am already losing. So create a list of and these the cost should be assessed as the long term costs that may incur to me. So erosion of self is also one of these costs. So everything that you can think of. So create a list and compare rationally, not emotionally. When you take out a problem from your head onto a paper, it becomes very easy to understand and see it beyond the emotions. So this is the second thing to consider. Then trauma bonding factors, and try to understand the relationships that you have in the community, with the leaders, with other followers. Try to understand if they are real emotional relations, or they have been created by intermittent reinforcement by these people or by the community in general, by alternating love and fear. Have you experienced love and fear alternatively for the same person? If this is so, then you might have been intermittently reinforced to be trauma bonded in these relationships. So, if the trauma bonding factor is there, then which is very common in spiritual abuse or any kind of subtle abuse where the physical abuse is not there, like emotional and psychological abuse. Trauma bonding is a very common factor which you will see. So it's obviously going to cause you long term harm. It's going to create more confusion, more dissonance, and more distress, even anxiety and depression. Then identity dependency check. It's very important to understand what I would be after leaving this community, because as I always say, in harmful toxic spiritual environments, identity gets fused with the identity of the group. So ask yourself, do I exist outside this group? If the answer is feels scary, if you get scared just by thinking about it, what would I be? Right now I am a member of this community or a leader, I'm doing these services and I have this designation, but when I leave it, what would I be? If there seems to be an existential crisis, if the answer seems scary, then it's a sign of enmeshment, not spirituality. True spirituality liberates. I always say true spirituality liberates. It does not bind you toxically with anything. So if you feel this way, that if I leave the community, it's going to be very scary. You get catastrophic thought. It means that you are enmeshed. It's unhealthy enmeshment. And if you are in any community or a relationship where there is unhealthy enmeshment, you definitely need to leave. So this is one of the red flags that indicates that you need to leave. Then try to assess the impact on the daily functioning, how the distress that you're experiencing in a community is affecting your sleep, your mood, your relationships, your decision making, and most importantly, your self worth. You should be feeling good about yourself, better about yourself as you grow in spiritually. But if your spiritual environment, if your community is destroying your self-worth, is destroying your identity making decision, is destroying you as a person, then literature shows that chronic spiritual control affects all of these domains. So if these domains of your life are being affected, it means that you are being spiritually abused and you need to leave this environment. Then safety planning. Some in some spiritual communities, people uh, completely get dedicated to the community. They even leave their job, their studies, and their families, and they abandon everything to be a part of the community. And later on, when they realize that this community is harming me, then it can be very scary because they have nowhere to go. I literally know people who have been through this. When they left the community, they had nothing. They don't know how to adjust in the society. They don't have an education. They don't have a job. They don't have any property in their name. They're Yesterday I was talking to someone, and this person told me about the story of a follower from a community who was literally on streets and he hung himself. He was suicidal because he had nothing with him. And these people, when they have depression, anxiety, and any severe mental health issues, they can't even get medical help, medical facilities, because they don't have any money with them. So consider the emotional, financial, and social safety, especially if you are coming from a closely tight knit community or any authoritarian spiritual context. So it's also very important to consider these things. You don't randomly leave it. First, you have to do these plannings, and then you can gradually leave. Then, while making decisions to stay or leave, one very important cue is somatic cue. Your body always knows before your mind does. So notice how your body reacts when you imagine leaving while staying. When you think of leaving, try to notice the sensations that you feel in your body and write them down. And when you think about staying, then also try to notice the sensations in your body. The body often reveals danger and or any liberation faster than the mind. So any condition, staying or leaving, your body will tell you which feels more dangerous and which feels more liberating. So this is the best way. I can cite an example. Uh, a friend was not exactly a friend, but a family friend was about to visit me. It's I think around 8 9 years ago it happened. Family friends were going to visit us, and I remember being very nervous before them arriving me, because this lady had stopped talking to me since a few months,
Oh.
but suddenly she was visiting us, and I was afraid that she stopped talking to me. She stopped talking to me, but I was afraid that she stopped talking to me, and I was afraid when she will visit, I don't know what she was going to talk to me about, and if she will blame for me, and how would I react. So, and then I suddenly realized the sensations in my body. I was cleaning my house, I was cooking for her, but I was also afraid of it. And that was the first time. It was a very long friendship of around 4 or 5 years. And that was the first time I realized, because I noticed the sensations in my body. I noticed palpitation. I noticed irregular breathing. I noticed irritability in my behavior. And suddenly I was like, what the hell? I am doing all this preparation for her. I'm cleaning my house and disciplining my children and cooking, and I'm also afraid of her. So what is my body telling me? This is not a safe person. And it was so
Mm.
liberating for me. From then onward, I had been using this somatic cue to assess all my relationship. Even when I'm standing with a stranger, I always scan how my body is feeling around this person, and that's how I decide if I feel safe around this person or not. So somatic cues can be excellent indicators whether you want to remain in an environment or with a person or not. And I'm not talking about someone who is always nervous, always anxious. Then there is something going on inside you. Maybe you have general anxiety or you have social anxiety. But if we are talking about isolated events, when it happens only around certain people, then this person is harmful for you and your body does not want you to be around them. Your nervous system is trying to keep you safe by giving you these indications. Then autonomy score. It's also important to assess your autonomy score. Just do a simple check. Ask yourself, do I feel free to disagree while staying in the community? Do I feel free to disagree or to question? This can give you a very direct indication whether you should be staying in this environment or not, because healthy environments allow you to disagree. So, so if the environment is, if the answer is no, the environment is already leaning towards harm, and you should be leaving it. So these are the factors that can be considered.
Interesting. All right, there's a comment question for you here from Jitin Rishika. Hi, Anu. Leaving a spiritual community does bring negative impact because anything or anyone attached to the community also detaches from you, even things of benefits, thus hurting you
Of course, it does happens, because it's more probably happens when the community is toxic and close knit community. In close knit communities, you are told that um, the group unity is more important than outside relations. So when you leave a community, you suddenly become an outside relationship, and the members, even those who actually care for you, who actually love you, they fear for any harm to their spiritual life. And because of that conditioning, they might start to avoid you. And but we must be, when, if you have all the enlightenment, you understand, or you have all the insights, and because of that you're leaving, I would recommend to have compassion for these people, because they are still in that harmful environment. They are still conditioned and manipulated, and it's not their fault. It's better to move on, forgive them, and grieve the relationship that was controlled by someone else. It's not your fault, it's not their fault, it's fault of people who are controlling that relationship. And these people, your loved one in the community, they are also equally victim as you are.
True. All right. Yes. I'm trying to see it. All right. Can a community that shows signs of partial toxicity ever be managed in a healthy way, or does toxicity eventually outweigh the benefits of staying?
Well, partial, when there is partial toxicity, it could be because of different reasons. And whether it can be managed or not, uh, there are a lot of factors on which this thing depends. The first thing is that we have to assess the uh, source. We have to try to understand the source of toxicity. and it becomes easier when you leave because you can see everything from the outside now. No. So try to understand where this toxicity is coming from. If the toxicity is systemic, like it's coming from the authority figures, from the leaders, or is it doctrine driven or culture driven, then it really changes, because you cannot fight with something that is coming from generations. It's been
Mm.
carried from generations probably. But if you are facing toxicity in a community because of some interpersonal issues, like two three people or a family or one of your family member, they are deliberately causing that toxicity to abuse you or to uh, oh, make you leave the group or like that. So if it's coming from a small cluster, it can be managed by having some boundaries while staying inside the community. On the other hand, if it's systemic, if it's ingrained in the community itself, in the culture itself, then it cannot change. And at least one person cannot change it. If all the leaders stand together and they all intend, at least a few leaders intend, and they do all the hard work and they take feedback and all that, maybe then some changes can be brought. But otherwise, just a member leaving the community, giving a feedback that nobody wants to hear, it cannot do anything. So I try to understand the source of toxicity that is harming you. Then try to understand the power structure, analyze the power structure. Generally, healthy change requires distributed power. If the power is distributed, as I say, then changes can be brought. But if the hierarchy is unquestionable, if you cannot question that leader, so anything happens on the lower level, you can never ask a question to anyone on the higher level. So nothing is going to happen. So the toxicity always remains. Or it might even escalate when you try to irritate someone above you by questioning them, by pointing a finger at them, by being a whistleblower. I hear a lot of stories like that. Someone tried to be a whistleblower and they were thrown out of the community. How dare you question? So the power hierarchy, so power structure analysis is very important. Before trying to be a whistleblower, do not be a whistleblower if the power hierarchy is there, or if there is unquestionable authority. Just leave and move on. Then accountability culture, you also have to check if there is accountability culture. Communities that welcome um, feedback, any mediation, any internal critic, they have better recovery chances because they have set up a system that allows any kind of betterment, because they want things to get better. On the other hand, where there is no accountability culture, to be honest, people sitting on the top position do not care about anything getting better. They only care about their comfort, their power, their control. So if you try to, as I said, irritate them, try to disturb them, it's only going to cause you more harm. So it's not recommended if there is no accountability culture. Then transparency versus secrecy. Try to see, try to understand if there is transparency or secrecy. So toxicity thrives where there is secrecy, selective truth, and spiritual elitism, which I discussed in a few weeks ago, where there is esoteric truth for the higher, for the older members, and there is filtered truth for the new members, and the information passes through filters created by the leaders. If these things are happening, there is no transparency. And if there is they whitewash the history and all that. So if there is information control, there is no transparency, you cannot do anything to improve the toxic environment. Then exodus pattern, try to see if there is exodus patterns, which means that in many healthy in many healthy communities, reflective people keep leaving. If you have been hearing stories of, oh, there used to be a person who was very serious and he was a good person, but he left. Then there was another person who was very serious in their spiritual life. They were kind to everyone, but they left. But nobody tells you why they left. So if healthy, reflective people keep leaving, it signals structural harm, not isolated problems. Because in isolated problems, the one who's creating problem, their immediate people will be affected. But if people who were serious, who were dedicated, who were committed, they keep on leaving, then something is wrong with the structure. So it has to be considered. Then consider and then try to see the repair attempts. If the community has any repair attempts, like genuine apology. Did you hear a story where a complaint was made, a feedback was given, and the leader actually made a genuine apology, not just in public, but they also actually mend their relationship with the person who was hurt. So genuine apology is there. Role changes are there. There is no rigid roles. Then updated policies. The policies also keep getting updated. Like in organizations, you see professional organizations, you see they keep updating the policies to keep the environment healthy. And if the leaders are trauma informed, I'm not saying that they should hold a degree and a license in psychology, but they should act in a way that proves that they are trauma informed. They have empathy, they have compassion, they are able to listen to the feedbacks without judgment, like that. So these are the green flags of a community which is trying to heal. See, every community, every family, every group has problems. But if someone shows these qualities, it means that they are making efforts to heal. So if someone is making an effort to heal, genuine efforts, it can be considered to stay with them and be a part of that change. Then then most important thing is self compassion filter. Sometimes managing toxicity means managing yourself. So staying at the cost of your emotional well-being or your mental health, or staying while abandoning yourself completely, it's never recommended. But because that's not what spirituality is for. It's not for abandoning yourself. And the threshold question that you have to ask at the end is, what part of me must I kill to stay? If the answer is authenticity, voice, values, or mental peace, it's better to leave.
Wow. How can someone balance relationships with family, friends, or loved ones to remain deeply connected to a spiritual group they are questioning or leaving?
First and most important thing is to have a non conversion rule. Whenever a member leaves a community, the first thing that happens is the remaining loved ones, family members, or close friends, they would try to bring them back. And this person who is leaving, they will try to make them aware of the toxicity and tell them to leave the community. This should not happen. Because if this happens, and this is something that happens most probably, this all happens all the time. The one who's leaving will try to take their loved ones out because they know that it's harmful and they want to protect them. It's similarly those who are inside, they think that the outside world is dangerous and leaving the community will harm their spiritual life, so they will force them to stay. This should not happen. This is the first condition if somebody wants to maintain a relationship with someone who is still inside the community. If this does not happen, anything else that I'm going to tell now after this, it will not work. So this should be the first priority. You don't have to convince them to leave, and they don't have the right to convert you or to take you back again. So no conversion, number one. Number two, radical emotional boundaries should be there. Separate the relationship from the belief system. So relationship should be, do not base your relationship of anything that has anything to do with the community. Love the person, limit the ideology, and it goes for both the one who's leaving and also the one who is staying. So try to love while keeping all these things away from the relationship. And you can prepare a script for safety, like you can prepare neutral responses like I respect your path and I'm exploring mine. Goes both ways. So these reduces conflict while setting boundaries. Try to not discuss the community, the faith, and for the time being, stop discussing spirituality at all, because for both of you, the meaning of spirituality will be different. So it's better not to discuss it at all. Just simple script that you can use it, that I'm trying to explore mine and I respect yours. So let's explore ours separately from each other. And then create shared zones. Create, identify relationship spaces that are not connected to spirituality. try to have fun, try to parent your children. If the other person is your partner, or any relationship, you can have some spend some time together having hobbies, or um, just go out and have do anything that is not related to spirituality. In spiritual communities, you are always suggested to spend time together spiritually. But when the two family members are from different community, or one of them is from a community and another one is not, then it is recommended, do not try to spend time spirituality, because there will be clashes of ego. You will think I know more, and the other person will think that I know more, and it's going to result in conflict, and it will destroy the relationship. Now, then grief, allow the grief of differences, because grief will come. You will be grieving that this person is not following what I am following, and they will be grieving that you left that path on which you were together walking. So grief will be there, and you should allow the grief. Accept the ideological distance that will be created, and that will create the emotional distance. There will be some emotional distance, definitely, because of the ideological distance. So it's normal, and do not consider it as a relationship failure. It is happening because of the ideological distances. Accept it and try to grieve it and give space to it, and avoid any kinds of theological debates, because it also happens a lot. It also happens a lot, and it is the number one reason why relationships get ruined. So because whether you are one who is living, or you are one who is still in the community, I want you to know that it rarely changes anything. It will only strengthen the other person's loyalty to the system, or their whatever they are feeling or thinking about the community, the one who is leaving or one who is staying. Then if there is any manipulation going on, name it. If the loved one who is still in the community, they use fear, prophecy, or scriptures to pull you back, then recognize it as a learned response in the community and forgive them. Do not take it personally, because if you take it personally, there will be clashes. And have compassion for them, because they are going to talk like that. So understand that it's manipulation. They have been manipulated, and that's why they are talking like that. Forgive them, be compassionate with them, do not take it personally. And also, do not encourage them to talk more about that. And then, last one is build external support, because now you need some people around you who support you, who understand you, who you can belong to, because existing alone can be very destabilizing, and it can also create confusion and catastrophic thoughts. Maybe I really actually destroyed my spiritual life by leaving the community, because if you stay alone for long, it can affect your mental health. So having a mirror outside the system is protective against the self-doubt.
Why is leaving a spiritual community often experienced as heartbreak or grief, even when the environment has caused emotional harm?
A lot of things happen when someone leaves a community. A lot of losses, actually the losses start while the person is still in the community, but when you leave it, when you come outside of it, and when the confusion starts to subside a little, and when you start to get the clarity of thought, that's when you realize the losses that you have faced. And when you understand what you have lost, it gives you a lot of pain, and that's why people grieve. So one of the most important thing is people leave, they lose their identity. The identity gets shattered in a spiritually harmful environments. Spiritual groups often fuse your identity, your values, your purpose, your moral framework. So leaving feels like losing yourself, as I always say. You didn't remain as a person when you were inside the community. You became a part of it, and now the community is gone. You you feel the existential crisis. What am I without the community? Then the another very painful thing that happens when you leave a community is attachment loss. Human bonds, uh, deep humans deeply bond to um, communities, rituals, leaders, and narratives, even the unsafe ones. So and especially in the initial days, nobody knows that my community is going to be harmful or toxic, or the leader would be toxic or narcissistic, or they are emotionally immature. Nobody knows that, because how every spiritual community represents it in the beginning, it always looks very fulfilling. And humans have this natural tendency to bond to people, communities, rituals, leaders, and the narratives. So bonding does happen every time, whether the community is harmful or partially harmful or healthy. And when someone loses a community, or they lose all that, you lose the belonging, the friends, the relationships that you have, the emotional bonding that you have, you lose everything. So it hurts. When you lose something, it always hurts, whether they were toxic for you, because you miss the version of them that you thought they were. You miss the version of the community that you expected it to be, that you were told it would be. So that causes a lot of pain, and there is a lot of attachment loss. Then neurochemical withdrawal is also there. Rituals and group belongings release oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. When you are together doing things in harmony, eating together, dancing together, going on trips, spending time, celebrating each other's birthdays, and doing nice things for each other, be there for each other, even if you are doing it as a part of performance, because you have been told by the leaders to act in that way, so that it looks like we are all in harmony, we are all loving each other, although it's that love is totally conditional, because the moment you leave the group, it's not there, it suddenly disappears. It's like from zero one to suddenly zero. But while you're still in the community, you are enjoying all that. So when these things happen, these happy hormones get released, the bonding hormones get released. But when it stops happening, you're not getting the dose of those hormones in it suddenly, and it gives a neurochemical withdrawal. It can also be very painful, like withdrawing from a drug. You had to, uh, you were getting so much dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin, and suddenly it's not. So the feel good hormones, they're also not there. And since you're grieving, so obviously you're grieving, you're sad and you're hurt, so you can't get them easily from anywhere. And especially in that amount in which you were getting earlier, it's nearly impossible. So leaving causes biological withdrawal, similar to heartbreak. The pain that people feel in romantic relationships, heartbreak, the same pain is felt while leaving a community. Then the next thing that happens is meaning collapse. The loss of cosmic meaning can feel like the world become chaotic and unsafe. When you become a member of a spiritual community, you feel that now I have understood the meaning of life, and my life has a meaning. So the cosmic meaning that you valued and that made you feel safe in this world suddenly disappears. So now the world feels unsafe and chaotic. You also carrying the belief from the conditioning from the community, and now you don't know, you haven't found a new community yet, because you're still hurt, you're still triggered by the name of, by all those symbols from your community, and you do not have a lot of friends and you're alone. So there is a lot of feelings of safe and chaos. Then grief of idealism. You grieve the version of the group you thought existed, as I said, not the one that harmed or hurt you. As I mentioned previously, that you grieve not the loss of something that you know was hurting you, but you are grieving losing something that you thought was real. That version which you thought was real, that version that you were attracted to and got attached to, that version to which you were spending all your emotion, your energy, and you're investing your life in, that version disappeared. So you grieve that version of your community that never existed. So there is a grief of idealism. Then loss of witness. You lose the people who shared your spiritual milestones, festivals, ceremonies, rites. You did all that with your people inside the community, your group. Now the festivals festivals can be very triggering. Any special occasions related to your community can be very triggering. So you lost all those belongings, and you lost the witness that you had while you were um, celebrating all that. Then there is also moral injury, the betrayal. They were supposed to be safe. This is something that cuts deeper than ordinary relationship hurt. Because in other relationship, there isn't that much of, in other friendships, there isn't that much of promise. But in spiritual communities, when they recruit you, there are so many big promises. We are safest and we are saints and we will keep you safe, and everybody is nice, everyone is good, and we are the only one who know the truth, and we will all together walk on a spiritual path and achieve that, and so many nice things, and suddenly it's not there, it's not there. So they were supposed to be safe, and but they betrayed you. They were supposed to be ideal, but they betrayed you. And the last one is survivor's guilt, feeling guilty for people who are still inside. And this guilt can be especially more painful if you can see some vulnerable people still in the group that you had recruited in the group. Because at that time, you had some other beliefs. You were also conditioned, manipulated into thinking that this is a safe space. And anyone that I love, that I care for, I should be bringing them inside so that they are also safe. You thought that, and that's why you brought some people inside. Now you have realized the harm, so you are leaving, but they are still there, and there is no way you can explain to them that they also need to leave, and you're also ashamed of yourself for putting them in that danger, and now you're worried. I brought them from a normal world. I brought them here because I thought this place would be safer. But what if this place is more dangerous than where they were originally? So there is also a survivor's guilt. So people feel guilty for leaving while leaving behind those who were there because of you. And now somehow you feel responsible for any harm that might incur to them in the future. So these are the things.
Okay.
It's
Lastly,
also
what
a
is
cycle.
okay?
Yeah.
Lastly, Anu, what does a healthy response from a spiritual group or community look like when someone chooses to leave? And what warning signs suggest manipulation, guilt, or punishment instead?
When um, when someone tries to share what happened to them, there can be healthy responses and there can be toxic responses. How do you know if someone is still inside the community? It's difficult for them to understand the responses that they are receiving or the other people are receiving from the community or the authority, if they are healthy or not. Because when you're inside that group, you think that everything is fine, everything is good, it's for our own good. But I am telling you from the perspective of the all the literature that exists on spiritual abuse. I'm going to tell you about some red flags and some green flags to look out for when you or someone else tries to share or give a feedback on something that has hurt them in their community. So first we will talk about the healthy responses, the green flags. There are respectful goodbyes. When someone tries to leave, thinking of leaving, or they are actually leaving, people would wish them well. They would say things like, "We wish you well in your journey. Your journey matters." So there will be respectful and wishful goodbyes. You will not be, okay, we will go to the toxic responses later on. So, respectful goodbyes will be there if you try to leave a community that is not very harmful. And it's a green flag and it's a healthy response. I'm so sorry.
No
Can you
worries.
hear me?
I think, yeah, I can hear you perfectly. So I think we might have a little glitch there. What were you trying to say there towards the end?
Yeah. So the first thing is that respectful, there will be respectful goodbyes. And then no relationship shutdown. As I mentioned earlier, in unhealthy communities, the moment you leave a group, you become an outsider and people will start cutting you off because they're afraid of you now because you're an outsider. Because, but in healthy communities, the healthy response from a spiritual community when someone tries to leave would be no relationship shutdown. People remain warm even when the ideological differences are there because they are not afraid 5 minutes. So So then there are no threats. There are no talks of divine punishment,
Mhm.
eternal sufferings, karma, curses, or God will be unhappy. People do not give direct or subtle threats that just because you left this group, so something wrong or bad is going to happen to you, because they are mature. In healthy groups, people are spiritually mature and they know that everybody has a right to choose their own path. So there will not be any threats. Then there is no isolation. Friendship remains intact without any strings. And then there is an open conversation. If you want to discuss it with someone, they will allow you to have an open, healthy conversation without getting afraid of you because you're an outsider, or without giving you any subtle threats or trying to manipulate you into getting you back. So they welcome healthy dialogues without defending themselves aggressively, or and you should also not be trying to force your insight upon them. Give them time and let them try to see things on their own. And when they are ready, when they try to understand, then you can explain. You must not force other people to see what they are not ready to see yet. This is something that we have to take care of. Then there is everything is consent based. There is no repeated attempt to pull you into the events, calls, or counseling unless you ask. This is very important thing. This is something that has to be taken care of while joining a community also. If people don't respect your boundaries in the beginning, they will also not respect your boundaries throughout your relationship in the community. And when you try to leave, they will again also not respect your boundaries. So respect of your boundaries is something very important to be noticed. Then there is also self-reflection. Is there anything we should learn from your experience? This is what you will get to hear from the leadership. Because in healthy communities, leaders actually care for the well-being of their members, and when someone leaves, they feel sad for them. It's not their that their leadership is feel they're feeling threatened as a leader. Oh, how dare someone leave this group that I am leading, and now it will bring bad name to me in the community or outside the community. They are not afraid. They are not like my ego is being hurt. They actually care for the people. They won't be afraid and insecure, and they would care and they would ask you if there is anything that we can do to reform inside the community so that others don't leave, and your choice would be respected also. So, if you have to say in one line, I would say that they will allow you to leave safely. You will feel emotionally safe while leaving the community. On the other hand, toxic responses that come from cult like communities, the red flags would be something like there will be a lot of fear tactics, the prophecies of misfortune, divine anger, spiritual downfall. All these will be said to you. People might say this directly to you, indirectly to you, subtly, but and also you will also feel these things inside you when you're trying to leave an cultic community. You will be gaslighting yourself irrespective of others, and others would be subtly trying to make you feel that you are doing something really dangerous by leaving the community. Then character assassination would be done, not necessarily in front of you, but behind your back. When other followers go and ask the leader, why did this person leave? They are going to do your character assassination. There could be smear campaigning being done behind your back, because if they don't do so, the other people will get to know the reality and they might also leave. And in toxic communities, the only thing that is important is head count. Maintaining the head count and increasing the head count, they don't really care about the quality. All they care about is quantity. So the character assassination happens a lot in cultic communities. They will you will become suddenly fallen, weak, confused, rebellious, under Maya's influence. All that kinds of labels will be put on you so that other followers do not spend a lot of energy into trying to understand what actually happened. And when you are labeled like that, others will also feel discouraged to actually contact you and get to know your perspective. And even if someone comes and tries to get to know your perspective, they will They would be so afraid and in themselves, oh, I'm talking to an outsider. What if this person influences me as well? So they will rarely reach out and they will listen to the leader's filtered information, which is your character assassination. Then love bombing followed by punishment. In uh, in a toxic community, when someone tries to leave, the leaders will try to do everything, love, fear, threats, everything. So if you see this toxic dynamics of love bombing suddenly followed by emotional punishment or any other kind of punishment like immediate sweetness followed by silent treatment, gossip, exclusion, you know that this is a red flag, because they are themselves confused, they are afraid, they think their ego is being threatened, their authority is being threatened, so they are doing everything they can do. In Hindi we say sam dam dand bhed, do any of that, just bring this person back. So if they are
Mm.
doing these kind of things, there is sweetness, suddenly you will see there's sudden sweetness, then suddenly there is silent treatment, then sudden gossip, and then exclusion, and then again nice treatment. So love is always consistent. If someone shows love inconsistently, especially when it's altered with the negative treatment, then it's not love. It's love bombing. Then the fourth one is boundary violation. This is most common. When someone tries to leave unhealthy community, they try to do everything to bring that person. So they would show up uninvited. They will call you without your consent. They will send messages, and they will create emotional pressure. And suddenly they will send nice messages. So they will not you have clearly said that I need some space, but they will not give you space. You keep telling
Mm.
them, I need some space. I need some time to think about my decision. I am not sure if I'm even leaving. I need some time to think, but they will not give you that time. They will keep sending you messages. They will keep inviting you. They will keep calling you. They might visit you at home and try to confuse you, try to take you away from whatever thoughts you have about leaving the community, or if you have any insights, they will try to confuse you a lot. Then retelling your story without consent, as I said, the they will try to not only do the character assassination, but they will distort your narrative to justify their behavior. When other people ask, why did he left, why did she left, oh, this person was oversensitive, or they were unstable, or they were influenced by outsiders, and this was already very affected by Maya, or this person was already very rebellious from the beginning, we knew that this person will not stay, or they were just too oversensitive, or this person was depressed, or they had some mental instability.
Mm.
They would say something, they will label you in a way so that they don't have to take accountability for what they did, for what was wrong on their part. And it's also an easy and lazy way to shut people down, those who are trying to understand what happened. And then they actually shut down, and they actually stop asking after some time, and then everything, the show keeps going on there, and you are on your own. So retelling your story without your consent, and later on after a few years you get to know people have different versions of your story, why you left, and nothing is actually matches with your actual reason, because they cannot tell that the fault was there in the community or in the leaders, so they create a story, create their they control the narrative. Then social ostracism, it also happens in unhealthy communities. You lose your friends overnight. It's a classic sign of living a high control spirituality.
Mm.
You are an outsider and you are dangerous the moment you leave a community, and you suddenly lose everyone. When you are inside the community, they would make you feel so special. They would write paragraphs glorifying you on your birthday, and you are the best follower, and you are so committed, so good as a father, as a brother, as a mother, as a sister, as a friend, so devoted to God and all. And suddenly you are nothing. Suddenly you don't even get a happy birthday text on your birthday. So this is how friendship disappears completely when you leave a toxic community. And the conditional, then the acceptance is also conditional. You will be accepted back inside the community only under certain conditions. If you left because you had questions, you had doubts, you had some issues, you had a feedback, it's not that They are open to hear that and to bring any transformation. You will be shamed for having questions, you will be blamed for having doubts, and whatever is going on inside the community, if you are okay with that, then you will be accepted. So that's the seventh sign, the red flag that will be shown in the unhealthy communities when you try to leave.
Thanks so much for your time, Anu.
Thank you, Siddharth. I'm sorry for all this disturbance. I will try to do
Ah,
from my PC next time.
no worries.